안녕하세요.
Good afternoon or good evening. We're now going to begin the special event. This is right before a dinner. The theme of this forum is about responding to the crises that are faced by humanity, such as climate change, and what the young leaders are thinking about ways to solve these crises. And in this session, we'll be talking about actions. So we have invited startups, the representatives from the startups who have actually put what they've been thinking about into action. We have Yoohyun Park of DQ Institute and Mr. Seung-yoon Lee of Radish joining us online. And on stage, we have Mr. Park Jong-kwan of Carang and Mr. Song-min-soo of Unit Character and Mr. Oh Sang-hyuck of Bluewhale Company. And we do have a script, but well, a script is a script. But I want to be more free in terms of leading today's discussion. So as we are, conducting the presentation or the discussions, you could just raise your hand and let us know that you have questions or comments. I want to make this as interactive as much as possible. And so DQ Institute, you know what DQ is, right? You know about IQ, you know about EQ, but some people may not know what DQ is. DQ stands for digital quotient. In terms of IQ and EQ, I have a lot of deficiency, but DQ, I'm not so good at it either. And Yoohyun Park is going to talk to us about standardization using DQs. And with children, we do need standards, by which we can develop the DQ for children. And so that's what she's doing at her institute. Are you with us?
Greetings from Singapore. My name is Yoohyun Park. Should I start? I prepare a little bit of slides and maybe I will show you my slides. Sure. You can show us your slides and after your presentation we will have some Q&A session based on your presentation. So make sure your presentation is nice and short. Okay, great. Can you see my slide? Yes. All right. I am going to publish this on 19th of November. And this summarizes my 10-year research in terms of my startup and experience of the industry. So hopefully I can share with you how I started this book and what the book says. Probably I'm not the great fit for the session because I am not an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs usually create profits and that way they contribute to the society, but I haven't done it. Well, social enterprise is the term, but I'm more like social intellect leader in startups and companies are far from my career. I'm more like a messenger to deliver messages. And I would like to explain why by explaining my last decade and my next decade. In 2010, I started a NGO in Korea. It's called Influence Zero. And I started this organization because I witnessed the case of Na-young, of the victim of the rape, the young girl in Korea. And I was in the States studying. And after experiencing this rape cases, all the Korean parents were furious, including myself. I'm a mother of two. And I followed up the news through the American media, and one newspaper introduced this picture that Na-young drew. There were some pornography as an advertisement right next to Na-young's picture on the newspaper. And it is not just an issue of a girl. It's not just an issue of Korea. It could be anybody's girl, anybody's child. And this digital culture is something that we should deeply consider. And from 2009, I started to figure out how to interpret this case. And in 2010, I established the organization called Influence Zero. It's a startup NGO. Startup is already difficult to do, but startup NGO is even more difficult to establish. And I didn't have any political cause or any personal string attached to this case. I was just a student, and the cyber online safety was a rare topic that people care at that time. And a lot of people thought I was out of my mind when I started this organization. But whenever I tried to do something to speak up for this case, a lot of people talked to me back. But I was on the major newspaper because I graduated from Seoul University and I studied in Harvard University, but then I was paying attention to something that nobody cares. That's probably why these media paid attention to me, and I drew enough attention from American media. Maybe people thought that I wanted to do some politics. So one time, an official from presidential office contacted me and he wanted to see me. And I went to the presidential office of Korea. They didn't really care about what I did. They were more care about what kind of person I was. But he asked me a question, what I wanted to do by doing this initiative. But then I was already fed up with getting the same question all the time. And I said, I will establish a global standard in a decade, which will be followed by any countries, any companies, and any organizations. And that person looked at me, seems like this person is out of mind. Then after that, I stayed overseas, and this is a scene that I was on BBC. I'll just skip this part. And on BBC, I mentioned on BBC that we published a report in 2018, and between age 8 and 12, 60% of kids were exposed to cyber risks. And I named it cyber pandemic, and I was talking about cyber pandemic on BBC. So this is not just an issue for bad kids or ignorant parents, and it's an issue of a digital ecosystem. Usually when you think of child protection, people usually say, so what? So the companies are the bad people? Maybe we should stop subscribing Kakao services. But what I felt for last decade is that it is all about industry's responsibility. Technologies are developing unprecedented pace, and all human responsibilities are on one line. It's more like linear. And human responsibility elements are not as fast as the development of technologies. So you can think of a lot of side effects. So cyber risks is one of those side effects. We can think of fake news and any other social issues happen not because the companies have bad intention or some countries are the evils. It's not like that. So as I continue my study and research, we need a new form of intelligence for a new era. So we started to talk about IQ after the first and the second industrial revolution. And we needed people who need to work for factories. And to work for factories, you need somebody smart. Then people started to develop technologies and started to use the internet, and there are more human interactions after that. And human interaction became a key in human relations. Then we are passing after fourth industrial revolution, and now the era requires human intelligence. Children and human need a certain and new intelligence, and that is called the digital intelligence that I invented. It is a broad concept, some capability that is required in digital era. We often talk about digital literacy, but digital intelligence is beyond that. We need some capability to deal with all these digital elements. And we have 8 types of digital factors. First, digital citizenship and how to live better, digital creativity. We know how to create things, digital competitiveness, how to create values. It's not just the value. It's not just created something simple. So it's 8 by 3 became my concept, and I created this concept because it's nonsense that we can't just say let's not use the internet because we have cyber risks. Well, we have to live with the digital technology and the internet. Then we needed to establish to make ourselves cautious and carefully use technologies in the digital lives. And that is why we started this concept of digital intelligence for the last 9 years. Over 80 countries, we started an initiative called DQ Every Child. It is the concept used by the first generation of a digital technology, and I more invented this for my children. Somebody contacted me saying that they wanted to establish digital standards, and they were impressed by my DQ concept, and they just wanted to collaborate with me. And I warned them, though, that not only technology but education are required. So the World Economy Forum, including my institute, created a international alliance for digital intelligence. And we kicked that off in 2018, and after 2 years, in 2020, digital literacy, digital intelligence have become an international standards. In 2010, I declare that I would created some international standard, and it became the dream come true. And at the General Assembly of a international forum, I just realized that I actually made my dream come true. And I thought it was possible because that's something that the time we live requires. A lot of people say that you are now a millionaire because you created some international standard, but I don't think so. What he means by having a standard is that we are able to draw the line. So below the line, there should be no one. So the DQ standard is what I did for last 10 years. And my next 10 years will pay more attention to what I presented at the General Assembly of the what General Assembly of the UN presented recently. Now, for the next 10 years, I will work on everyone around the globe will use my global standard. I know one thing for sure. We are on board of Seoul. If you think of the Seoul ferry incident, it happened because we missed that golden time. Within 2 hours or 110 minutes, we were able to save those children. But if we work together with Marine Patrol and our police, it would have only taken 5 minutes. And I actually did a simulation. We are in the time that we can give up on that 110 minutes or 105 minutes. So for the next 10 years, I would like to unfold this digital intelligence initiative with 1 billion people with the digital skills. Not only for workforce, but special needs, refugees, people with special needs and refugees, they need a digital intelligence. Can we do it? No. What we can do is to renew and update so that the standard will be relevant as time goes by. You are the actors who can make it happen. You can connect other digital skills along with the digital intelligence, and you can draw the roadmap. Lego has a certain strategy. Digital skill program at Lego adopts my standards, and Lego can do, then other companies can do it. So I want to keep tracking on the impact of digital intelligence in the future. And this can be done by the entrepreneurs of startups, and hopefully I would like to do some DCube forum with you in the future. And to wrap up, thank you very much to give me a floor today, and I look forward to hearing more from you.
Thank you. We have to use digital technology in our lives And because of that, DQ is very important for individuals, but also for nations. And there's are also differences in terms of digital among the countries and the different classes. And if a DQ could be, there could be a standard for the DQ, so it would be possible for us to measure the difference, and we could also see what the meaning of that difference is. And the young people here, we could discuss this DQ issue, and I think it could be quite productive. And we're going to come back to you later with some comments and questions later. Well, Ms. Park talked about the social impact. She started her DQ Institute in order to bring about social impact, and she was able to grow it into an international organization within 10 years. You may heard about Radish. If you're interested in web novels, that you may have downloaded some novels from Radish, or you may have uploaded novels onto the Radish, so that you may have become a web writer. And so Mr. Lee has founded Radish, and now he is working at Kakao Entertainment. Mr. Isu? I'm Seung-yoon Lee of Radish. Good evening. We were going to ask you, rather than listening from you about your career, about Radish. So I think it would be better for us to ask your questions and have your answers. There are some people here who may not have used Radish. So can you talk to us what Radish is? Well, Radish is a company that provides novels via the mobile applications. And so just like a Netflix original, within Radish, we have content producers. And these content producers have employed writers from the studios, and they're creating a Radish original of works. And there are so many different types of content. There could be video, there could be a Netflix, a TikTok, or there could be screams. And I think the biggest advantage or benefit of novel is that is the speed. For instance, a podcast, Harry Potter, there are different series, but I was able to read the whole series within a week because I stayed up all night. But in our case, there were 3,000 episodes of a novel, and so there was a novel that was uploaded either 4 times a day or 3 times a day. It's all possible because it's not just one writer writing the novels. Just like because in Hollywood it's a collective writing system. So we have brought in that system into Radish so that a group of writers will be working on a novel. And so we have these writers be able to write and upload different episodes of novels very quickly. So we have about 1 million users just in the United States. And there are some novels that have revenue about 7 to 8 billion won. And there are some really enthusiastic readers. And who are these enthusiastic readers? I understand that Radish is a paid service. So how much money do they have to pay in order to read novels from your platform? Yes, it's a paid for service. And the romance novels are really popular. And most of the readers, of course, are ladies. And so in the US, they have moved from the printed books to e-books to e-books. the and then the writer, excuse me, the audience, so the readers were of the romance novels were most open to these different platforms, and so now we have romance or romance suspense. So there are sub categories of the romance category that are popular, and not just within the Radish, but within the Kakao Enter. We, of course, we're going to cooperate with the Kakao Enter so that we can provide more organic and organic growth through mergers and others. And your loyal customers, I mean, who are they? What region are they from? Can you tell us who these loyal readers are? They are mostly from North America. They are if between the ages of late 20s to early 30s, because this is a paid service, and it's so if it's free, we would have teenagers and young people in their early 20s, but this is paying services, so we do have a little older readers. And so, for you to expand scope of your customers, you may need to focus on a certain group of readers. So who are you going to focus on? Well, our reader group as of now is potentially very large, and so we have not been able to reach all possible readers within that age group of late 20s and early 30s. And we may have more genres. We may be able to convert our existing readers, and we could also attract new readers. And if you look at Kakao Entertainment's businesses, it has done a lot of, it has grown inorganically by mergers and acquisitions. So we could do something similar within Radish. So Radish is a very successful web novel platform. And when a platform begins, there's this issue of whether a hen comes first or egg comes first. So you have to have customers in order to be able to provide, and you have to have a provider in order to attract customers. So what did you do with this? How did you deal with this issue? Well, initially, we brought in writers who were uploading their stories for free on certain sites. So these writers had a lot of following already, but they were not yet monetizing their work. So we brought these writers onto our platform, and just like Candy Crush or Anypang, they were so if the readers wait long enough, they will be able to read the different episodes. But if they wanted to read the episodes quickly, then they would the readers would have to pay a small amount of money. And so it was a more a supplier driven, IP driven, writer driven method is the method we employed in order to attract customers, that is the readers. In case of a content platform, user-generated contents or these narrative contents. I mean, there's a limit to creating this new content from user generated methods. And on YouTube, you have videos that are repeated over and over again. And Netflix is doing its own production, has its own unique contents, because in order to attract more viewers. And so that the premium content platform, you have to have more than writers, and you need to have more than two-sided marketplace. We wanted to take a more proactive approach. So we thought that we should create a very high-quality, unique content on our own. And in the United States, web novelists They would write until like 200 episodes, but then they would not write anymore because they were not so sure whether they would be able to make money. And also because these writers would not continuously write, the existing sites or the platforms were more focused or depending on the published writers because the published writers already had content, and so we allow these writers to continue to write with financial compensation. So you said that you were able to source the writings, the content, and then have people come and read and pay small amount of money to give them the privilege to read. And so let's meet other panelists before, and then we'll come back to you later.
We have some rising stars for the enterprises, and we have 3 speakers and panel discussants in front of you. They have something in common. Who hosted this event? JDC, Jeju Development Center, and then within their complex, they have an innovation center, and all their companies are relocated in that Jeju development complex, and then that paved the road to further develop their businesses. And we would like to share some of their experience. And first, Carang. Carang is the car repairman service. I am from Carang, and my name is Park Jong-kwan, and we provide a service like a contactless car maintenance. And I would like to share what we do with the KAIST and how we ended up relocating our business in Jeju. Sometimes you had some issues in the course of a car repairing, and that's why we started our business. Because there is a asymmetric information, so it's more like a visiting doctors and your main doctor visiting you solve the problem. So based on that trust, customers wanted to come back to us because they rely on our services. We started with the dispatch of our mechanics for car repair month, and then there are lots of different types of cars that need more services like a carless, and in time is the key here, and within a certain period of time they need to be supported by some maintenance, and then we collect this information for our business. And the most important part of our business is that we visit the customers, and you can reduce time and cost, and through contactless anytime, anywhere service. And you can refer to review and previous services. And sometimes some repairing center give you too much burden to have more services, but we do not do that. So our service is based on a platform, and through the platform you can check and the history of your repairman service of your car through the platform. And by providing these stable services, mechanics can also do their own business. It's more like a small business by individual mechanics. To B2C customers, it is a successful service. It is already synced with Kakao and TMAP. I don't think we have any other competitors in that industry, and a lot of partners want to be connected with us. And for B2B services, we take care of businesses of SoCar, and Be My Car, CarPlant, and Tada are also our partners. And we also take care of some rent companies and lease companies. We were successful because we were able to pull out some history of a repairment for our customers. And real time, we're able to find out some problems of the cars, and from the service to the settlement and the payment, we are able to provide a decent service in a stable manner. In Jeju, in terms of R&D, we are able to provide the data analysis system real time and remote manner. We prepared before we relocate in Jeju, but e-vehicle battery information was also collected, because this is an information that needs to see whether this e-vehicle needs more maintenance, and we do this research and the projects with the university called KAIST. And in the future, this data can be utilized for the evaluation of the waste battery. And our business has been growing double each year, and we are genuinely turning into a comprehensive services, and then it's over 10 billion won, and we are still moving forward with more services to be developed in the future. Thank you very much.
지난주에 바로
Last week, I went in to have a checkup of my cars. I was 10 minutes late and I lost a spot. I mean, I just couldn't receive the service. I mean, if you could have that this service, it would be really convenient. And as was mentioned, in case of electric vehicles, depending on how you drive, the residual value could change. And so, with the accumulation of data, it's not it would be much easier to have transactions as used cars. And so it seems that he's collecting a lot of data, and as somebody who's involved in data related work, it's really good to see. And in case of Radish, it was about web novels. Now we're going to talk about Unit.
와이즈하게
It is a content-wise business, and I would like to invite Mr. Song-min-soo of a Unit character, and let's get to know more about the service of Unit character. Can I operate my slide? Can you see my slide? It is not ready yet. For your information, do you know who Pororo created? Who created Pororo? Econics. Well, my name is Song-min-soo from Unit Character. Good evening. I'd like to introduce my background. I worked for Iconics that created Pororo for about 7 years. And I joined that company. I worked there for the best time of the company. And after that, in 2017, I started my own business. I'm sure all of you watched Squid Game on Netflix, and within 4 weeks, the value became 4 trillion won, and the value of a BTS songs are priceless. These are all about contents, K-pop songs, K-contents, and you can't really think of any industry who can create a 4 trillion won value. Maybe semiconductor. Well, contents can do that. K-drama, K-pop songs. But we are working in the area of K-animation. First, our product is Cricket Pong and Bong Bong Guardian that we succeeded in the past, and I would like to introduce a little more about that. Cricket Pong is a game based on the sport called cricket. In India, 1.4 billion people enjoy cricket. It's more like a religion for them. We decided to go to Indian market, and we tried to find what Indian children will love, and that was cricket. And we created this animation. luckily they didn't have animation of cricket before we started. So we created Cricket Punk Season 1, and it's about 11 minutes with the 26 episodes. And we started our service in the Middle East and Canada, and all over the globe, children are watching Cricket Pong. We targeted overseas market from the beginning. In the Arabic, Spanish, English, Hindi were the languages that we used for overdub. Usually we started with language of Korean, and after that, if needed, we overdub with English. But from the beginning, we started the English language and we expanded to Arabic, Hindi, and other languages to target overseas market. We also run YouTube channel, and we're having more subscribers. 80% of them are Indians. So that means that Indian children love Cricket Pong right now, and we use the YouTube channel for our promotion. Maybe my DQ is not that high. And we confirmed the establishment of Indian branch, and in 2 years we are going to visit day after tomorrow in Bangalore. You can see the guy with the cricket bat, and usually cricket players are the main characters on commercials because they have a great popularity, and this guy is called Ajinkya Lahane. And interestingly, his manager first contacted us through LinkedIn, and they said they loved Cricket Pong, and the manager also introduced that to Mr. Lahane, and then he showed that to his daughter, and then the daughter started to sing along Cricket Pong, and then he started to be more interested, and so the manager contacted us first, and that's how we contacted with Mr. Lahane. And he's going to become one of the stakeholders. So you can imagine Heung-min Son can join you and your startup as a stakeholder. So our goal is to make Cricket Pong as Bororo in India. I'm missing one slide, but after Cricket Pong, what I'm missing is called Bong Bong Guardian. As the moderator mentioned, we are relocated in JDC. There's an accelerator program we joined, and because we were selected as the accelerating firm, and we came to Jeju, and we started to be interested in creating animation that can represent Jeju, and we started making it, and I think earlier next year you should be able to watch this on TV. If you look at this picture, this orange hair girl is a daughter of a Hallabong farm owner. And you can see Haenyo, Sea Lady, Dive Lady, and we have Camellia character. So all these characters represent symbols of Jeju, like e-vehicle, some character related to that traditional rice cake, and so our company members all visited, taking turns and visited in Jeju to do some study more about Jeju to make this Bongbong Guardian more Jeju-centric. And a lot of Chinese are interested in this Bongbong Guardian, and we already registered the patent for the potential market entry into China. especially for cricket pong. We are also creating English education program. In India, there are a lot of people who can read, and there are big gap between the rich and the poor. And then as a part of the ESG, we started to talk about some corporate social responsibility services by using cricket pong. And in our Bongbong Guardian, also there's a scene that those characters win over these villains who harm environment. So we try to give a good influence on the society in terms of ESG, and we can also create added value through that project. And that wraps up my presentation. Thank you. And traditionally, well, I've watched NFT, and that started with 2000, and now it's $2 million, and it's a big business now. If you think of Roblox, that's widely spread around the globe. So Squid Game only was released, and if you look at Roblox, they already started to do some sugar candy game from Squid Game, and younger generations are more sensitive to these contents, and maybe these contents can be even traded off, and that can expand some possibilities of the businesses. And now let's hear from Bluewhale.
근본과
So you are connecting people, who have spaces and who need spaces, so that the space can be shared. My name is Sang-hyuck of Bluewhale. Well, I used to be a software developer at LG Electronics. I also used to work a strategic development team and involved in smart mobility development. And smart mobility is growing and with the development of the smart mobility, logistics business is growing. And for smart mobility to grow, infrastructure is needed. And space, I think it's part of infrastructure, and space is needed for smart mobility, and that's what got me interested in this business. There are so many spaces, vacant spaces in shops and stores. And those empty spaces can be used as a logistics center or the distribution center. And there could be small, buildings, that have, empty spaces. And so I have started this business to mediate use of these empty spaces. With COVID-19, delivery, especially quick delivery, has become very important, and the delivery that used to take like 3 days is now the delivery is done within a day. And in Europe, I understand there's a 10-minute delivery service. The change is that in the past, the logistic business was done mainly by large companies, but now the logistics business, especially the delivery business, is done by startups. And when it comes to deliveries, especially the quick, speedy delivery is very important. And so there is going to continue to be a demand for spaces. In the past, the distribution centers or the warehouses were outside of cities, but now these distribution centers, they are becoming smaller and are being relocated to the city centers, and so that these distribution centers can be close to the customers, and where thereby allow for 10-minute quick delivery of the products that have been ordered by the customers. So I may have, sent something to next building, but the delivery person would have gone around a whole neighborhood before delivering the product to the next building. And so that it was the complexity of the delivery service in the past. But now with the last mile service, the focus is on ultimately providing the service or the delivering the product. And so we in order to realize such a service, we have this we thought about setting up the warehouses nearby the buildings, nearby where the customers are. And if we could reduce delivery time, if we could reduce the movement distance or the travel distance, we would be able to reduce the carbon footprint of the transportation vehicles or the mobility, and contribute to the reduction of the carbon emissions. And just like Radish, we have set up a platform. So we're trying to connect people who already have spaces and the people who need the space on our platform. In the beginning, we focused on the people who already have spaces. We have over 2,500 spaces on our platform, and there are franchises that have listed or registered their spaces onto our platform. And so through our platform called Lux Day, customers could reserve space within a store so that they can put the products or put their goods. So we are trying to create value from these empty spaces. And ultimately this will help to reduce the emissions. But in the short term, we are going to help small business owners, store owners, to create profits and to create revenues by utilizing the spaces they already have. So that's what our business is about. Thank you.
특히 뭐 공간 이슈는
Issues about spaces exist anywhere, and sometimes we have unnecessary spaces and some extra space, and it was interesting to see that your company pay attention to some of those spaces. Yes, so if you think of this space while standardizing this space, and maybe sometimes we can use this services for storage, or other times you can use the space for the logistics. So the spatial data is our focus for the business. Thank you. That wraps up all the 5 speakers' short introduction, and now we would like to have a Q&A session. So basically, 3 of you are supposed to ask questions to Dr. Park and Mr. Lee. But first, we would like to ask Dr. Park. I'm not sure what this question is, but it says, I'll just read. As far as I understand, Ms. Park, Dr. Park, are you there? Yes. There's a question from online. So among some children, there are some children between on the border between the normal kids and some people with the special needs and some mental disorder. And for these children, maybe in the context of DQ, is there any tool to be used, or what direction do you recommend for these kids in terms of digital intelligence? Do you have any plans or ideas to enhance their IQ? If that's your question asks, we do not have expertise in that, but I'm not sure about that exact term, but I'm not sure. But so we focus on special needs children like autism and ADHD I don't want to say issue, but there are some mental disorder, and we do have some programs for these children. So biggest challenge for them is to interact with other people. Usually parents are busy to take care of them, so these children go to online and they face a lot of problems encountered online. It should be a little bit different from our normal children. So if you are interested, if that's the question, we do have some programs and we can provide. That will be very interesting. My youngest one is grade 2. So if you have some services and the programs for children, it might be very interesting. Okay, now any of the panel discussants may ask a question. I mean, we also have Mr. Lee online, so feel free to ask anyone any questions. Okay, I would like to go first.
그 자료를 보고 굉장히
I was impressed very much by Dr. Park's presentation. Maybe ESG should add the word D. D cube for personal could be something that I can paraphrase of what you said. Maybe you can combine with DQ with entrepreneurship. And what do you believe that the entrepreneurs need in terms of DQ? Yes, that's right. As I mentioned, one of our new directions is our future after creating global standards. Child protection is one, but digital competitiveness also is highly related to entrepreneurship, job readiness, and startup spirit. So in cooperation with the Singaporean government, we are working on some policy development. And globally accepted certificate is also our interest. And once you have some certificate from Korea that might not be recognized by Singapore, Saudi Arabia, or the US, so maybe that's something that you are interested. We can do some collaboration. So your idea is very interesting, and I will look it up more later. Thank you for your introduction of your business. Okay, next question. Where should I contact? Where should I find you? Which contact information should I use to contact you? dqinstitute.org is our site, and you can easily find me. So please contact me and I can provide some programs. Sure, I'm sure you can find the email at dqinstitute.org to contact Dr. Park. And next question.
승윤 대표님
Yes, I have a question for Mr. Seung-yoon Lee. We have animation IPs for the characters that we have, and we're trying to provide education service, but we maybe a platform to provide education service. So when doing a business, doing a platform business, what do we have to think about the most? Is it the killer content? Is it the operation? Is it the marketing? What is it that we need to focus on the most if we're going to succeed a platform business? So as two startup people who are trying to start a platform business, can you give some advices? So you have IP, you want to use those IP to provide online education service? Yeah, we do have animation IP, so we are thinking about doing an education for the children. I think it all depends on depending on what the platforms are. The business that you do has a IP, so it's an IP business. So I think in the beginning, what's really important is the killer contents. You have to have killer contents. So think about it not as a platform business, but as a forum with a lot of good content. That I think how you should approach it first. There's an education content or the kids contents. that's called the master class platform. And there was one writer for the platform, and another person. There were just two people. So I think that with just with very small, they only had a few contents, but they had a lot of traction. And so I think a platform is just a platform, as it says. What's really important is the content. With the Baby Shark, with just one song, it became a global phenomenon. Yes, I will work on developing excellent contents.
잖아요.
Well, at the end of the day, we're creating contents in the world we are living, and we should have something in common to create some contents. Otherwise, it's disconnection of the interaction. So you talked about animation service in India. Well, even in India, there are different density of subscribers or viewers. Maybe you can refer to that information in order to provide region-centric promotion strategies. So maybe you can accelerate on-off value chain and value creation. So what segment or what area you should pay more attention for easier expansion of the business. But if you just do little bit of everywhere, it's hard to create a mass business. Starbucks, for example, they first started in Seattle. They only chose a certain sector, certain part of the city, and well, that was more like offline approach. But well, at the end of the day, online services is also for people offline. So maybe we should discuss further later. My name is Park Jong-kwan. I'm from Carang. I ask a question to Mr. Lee.
어려운 부분들
So I have a question related to difficulties in operating a platform. We we go to a person's house to provide automotive repair service. So this is a new type of service. So we had to change the way people think about the repair services, and that is why we focus on marketing. And in your case, Radish, I understand the importance of contents, but this web novel, a subscription culture, I think was established by your company, and you had people willing to pay for that subscription. So in order to promote this new culture, what did you do? And any tips that you can give us, what helped you to succeed? On a platform business, you have to increase both the demand and supply. Did you have any difficulties in increasing both the demand and supply? So, each business has different way of succeeding. So there's no one recipe for success. So I can only talk about our experience. We had a diverse marketing campaigns for Radish. On Radish, it's a web novel. We've advertised it as a web novel platform. But the nature of the fundamental element of our business was the killer content. So we used the killer contents to be able to expand to expand our business. Well, Netflix is such a successful business because it has its own unique content. And there's a content analysis or strategy team within the Netflix that does the evaluation of the contents, and they see how much traction a certain content has in terms of getting new customers. And we do the same. So as we work on the covers, the on the cover of the there would be like a hooking phrases, the hooking sentences from a novel, and so the people would read these sentences and these phrases, and would be and their curiosity would be piqued, and they would be induced into visiting our platform to read the novels. And the core for us, the core value is core content, and we were trying to advertise the key, our killer content with sentences and the phrases. And I don't know how you're doing your advertisement or marketing, but if you are doing performance marketing, I mean, you have to do a lot of testing. I mean, there's no one right answer. Some of the work has to be quite intuitive. You have to try many things before you get one thing right. Thank you.
몇 개 정도
So you tried a few more scenarios, and you ended up successful with one? Well, it's not really like scenario, but maybe we have some commercial concept and we call it platform itself. You can focus on price policy, but at the end of the day, it's all about content. And then if you have some content options, and maybe one was really attractive and to marketing staff, and then there were some lines that we tested, and in the course of creating commercial, well, we own the IP, and we had to change the first and the second paragraph at the first attempt, and that's the case that the commercial actually affected the service. Well, in terms of contents, we often think of killer contents. In the case of Carang, maybe you should think of some killer contents for those who need a car repairman service. And if Carang targets that killer content for those people in need of services, maybe you can have a better access to some areas with more demands, but there are other areas with less demands, but those people with better income background. And for example, the town I used to live, and they had a very famous restaurant, and I wasn't sure because it wasn't special, but I just realized that they didn't have that kind of sushi restaurant in that town. So maybe sometimes it's necessary to do some regional research. Maybe Dr. Park, Mr. Lee have questions to the panel discussants or the audience on the floor, maybe?
먼저 얘기하시죠.
Maybe Ms. Park can go first.
As I listen, I learned a lot. All these three panel discussants have great businesses, and I do want to learn more about your service. And what I thought was Carang and Bluewhale use platform, and maybe we can think of something in common with DQ. Safety by design and the security, privacy is very important for your service, and it's important to have some interaction because you want to avoid bad feedback from customers through poor interaction. And maybe you can also think of privacy by design by combining data security and privacy issues in a decent manner. So I think you can find some room for improvement, and it could be very interesting. And in case of unit character, I love animation, and I do want to check out your animation, and you talked about some social impact and corporate social responsibilities, and that's something that we can collaborate. We can teach a lot of elements and the values of social values through animation. Well, I also work with the Indian government and NGOs in India. And it would be great because the content can spread ideas and the policies a lot. So it was interesting to find that you were interested in those social values. Mr. Lee mentioned about killer contents, and I actually took notes. And I fully agree. I'm not sure where you're based on, but I do want to meet you offline to hear more. And I'm deeply impressed by the moderator, and I learned a lot. Thank you. Well, maybe we should create a animation based on DQ. Well, India or not, we can provide our contents of animation to promote DQ, so probably we can discuss a further collaboration. Thank you very much. Mr. Lee, any comments to wrap up?
All of you are doing, wonderful business. I don't think I need to add anything. As I was starting my business, the most difficult thing or the challenge was, questions that I had, whether I would be able to succeed or not. I think persistence. You need to persist, and people have told me that your 8th year or your 10th year is when you're going to see the fruit of all the hard work. In my case, it was 7th or 8th year. So hang on. That's what I want to say. So we have 2 speakers joining us online. And we've had 3 panelists. They are incubating and developing their business within JDC, and I'm sure that their businesses will continue to grow. Dinner begins at 7:30. I don't know if you can join us virtually. And also, the panelists here, you could all join us together for the dinner. Excuse me, Mr. Lee and Ms. Park will not be able to join us because they are abroad, but it would be nice to meet someday face to face. Thank you.